Today's video, we'll look at the treaty to World War III. You know how we went through World War III in the last two videos? Well, now we're doing the treaty in this video to the war. And we will start in North America because, well, the war ended with American direct annexation of Cuba. Why? Because they did. Venezuela in the north will become a puppet. And yeah. Colombia, Brazil, and Guyana will get land, and what they don't end up getting will become an American puppet, which ends up being like this right here. An American puppet is created. A pro-American regime in Venezuela. And just because, yeah, this is how the borders end up being. Brazil doesn't get much, but it's not a big deal because the next South American. And I said North America first. I guess it was the Americas. We should be more specific. Even though it's North and South America or the Americas. Doesn't matter what it's called. But yeah. And so, as you can see, the treaty is pretty good for Venezuela's sake. The Americans establishing a puppet there, which would literally make it look like this. As we can tell, puppets are pretty great in this kind of situation, I guess. With Costa Rica annexing land, El Salvador gets land, and Guatemala. These two become American puppets. With Colombia deciding to take a big chunk of land here. With Ecuador deciding they'll take a bit of land here and what they used to have, although not all of it, because Colombia decided to take some of it. As we know, they used to extend there until Peru went to war with them and took it back. Or took it, one or the other. With Brazil just following its borders. Saying that, yeah. And Chile's like, yeah, I'll take a bit of Bolivia to make it harder for them to seize the coast back. And then I'll extend up into Peru's coast. I'm sure Peru won't mind. Yep, Chile's just being Chile. And now we'll look at the treaty that was signed. And also, Bolivia, Peru becomes a Brazilian puppet. Gained the most land. And the most coast went to Chile. Because they kept expanding like they would. And now America is a puppet of Central America. They call that because it's in the Central America. But not Central America, because that would make sense. And then this is Venezuela, an American puppet. That's Peru or Bolivia, because I like to say it like that. Because, yeah. And it's a Brazilian puppet. But now let's go to the African treaty. So, as we know, there'll be treaties signed with Sudan. Western Sahara will just be annexed into Morocco. And as we know, Egypt is probably going to extend on the coast, maybe in this area, because there's underground water, I think. That's area with it. Oh, now let's go look at this treaty. After they took lands, Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Guinea. Egypt made puppets in Eritrea, Ethiopia, Sudan, and Chad. Morocco made a puppet in Mauritania, France made a puppet in Algeria, and Libya became a puppet. And none of these African nations are going to gain any more land, so we can just kind of decide to, you know, uncolor them. North America, on the other hand, some are going to be involved in the Asia Treaty. Well, I'm not going to go ahead and erase them all, but I probably won't even start erasing them just because there's some lands in Asia some of them will be getting. And we can start with the Treaty of Europe, but that won't include Russia, as it's a different treaty, and the Treaty of Asia, which includes Pakistan and China separately. They'll be included together just because those are more big countries. I just realized since I'm not really giving lands in North America away, I can just really technically erase it. And as we know, the blue team won, but this was also a close conflict. And I've already explained these two treaties, so really the Treaty of Europe just impacts Belarus and Serbia and nothing else. Belarusian land, and Serbia lost land to all of its neighbors and has become a European occupation zone, which is between the UK, France, Germany, Poland, Ukraine, and Italy are all occupying lands in it together. Now, the Treaty of Asia will mainly affect Southeast Asia, North Korea, and the Middle East, with one being obvious: Saudi annexation of Yemen and annexation by Israel of there, and Kashmir goes back, and that area goes back to India, and Southeast Asia will have the treaty, and North Korea becomes South Korea. So really, it just becomes a unified Korea. And now for the treaty. It has two puppets: an Azeri puppet in Armenia, Saudi, Iranian, and a Turkish puppet there, an Indian puppet there, and Korea's unified. And now for the Treaty of Moscow, which is a treaty that affects Russia. And it's not the nicest. They do manage to get Belarus out of it, but that's about all. They lose land to Latvia, and Finland just gets Finland. Finland just doubles in size because Finland does in every treaty I make with Russia, so yeah. And Ukraine gets to extend out to here. And so on it continues. Power after this treaty in the center of Russia, with pro-American and pro-European democracies being installed in this new Novgorod Russian Republic. We have Volga Russia, because yes, that just sounds like a good name for this area. And then we have Siberia, because yeah. And then we have American Siberia, which is a new territory. Actually, it's American Second Alaska. Yep, that's a good name. And as we can tell, all these nations down here can be kind of not even worried about in the next treaty. And let's see what happens. Mongolia annexed Tannu-Tuva. Japan annexed lands you would expect them to. South Korea does. Ukraine just beats mega Ukraine. And yeah. It's called Volga because of Volgorod. Then we have Muscovy, or the Russian Republic. Not to be confused with the Russian Federation. You got Poland annexing Kaliningrad. But let's go to the most important treaty. The treaty with the leader, China. Let's see how it goes. Manchukuo was made independent. Yunnan was made independent. Tibet and Xinjiang. And then we have this, which is Communist China, with Japan annexing some land, Taiwan getting most, and South Korea getting a bit of land. And as we can see, a puppet in Pakistan has been established, and India has taken back its land claims, including Jammu and Kashmir, all under their control now, and the piece of land China took from them in the 60s. But as we can see, there's both a communist China and the Russian Federation piece left, just because they were such big countries. It's kind of hard to reestablish full big countries. And basically, those two areas that are left have lots of problems, economic and disagreements over who's really in charge, and so on, and they'll probably erupt into civil wars. And that's all for today's video. Please like and subscribe. Why should you subscribe? Because it's good for our YouTube channel. That's all for today's video. Wild Mapper out. Bye, guys. But not until you subscribe, because we have 170 left to go. Bye. Wild Mapper out.